Alright, so for starters, if you're experienced with card games such as Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Hearthstone, or Legends of Runeterra, just to name a few of them, then you might heavily enjoy this game. If you're just a person looking for a fun game to play, this game might be for you. This is Blox Cards, a turn-based strategy card game where you can play against other players or against AI opponents. For starters, the game has its own tutorial in the very beginning, and I highly recommend taking your time going over the tutorial because it's very short and very helpful and detailed. The tutorial will teach you all of the basics such as icons, moving fighters from your hand to the playing field, attacking, moving fighters from your hand to the base plate, and winning. The game works on a color icon type of system for summoning your cards. For example, some cards might need a yellow icon, a green icon, a blue icon, or a red icon to be summoned from your hand to the playing field. The only icons that you can generate over time are white icons, so getting these other color icons are going to be a little bit tricky. The game, however, does show which cards are very beneficial as starter cards to help you move into higher cost cards later on. A full deck can fit 40 cards, no more and no less. During a battle, each player will be summoning and attacking the other player to try and get them to hit 0 HP before they do. Due to the game running off of a color icon system, all of the colors have their own kind of specialty that you can get familiar with. Red cards are more aggressive cards, green cards are more for long-term stall, blue cards are for control, and yellow cards are mostly for spamming and rushing. On top of the color system, some cards actually have their own grouping or archetype. Basically what this is that some cards work really well together, such as doges as an example. If you ever played a game like Legends of Runeterra, Hearthstone, or Yu-Gi-Oh!, you will be very familiar with groupings of cards. Alright, this sounds really great and all, but how do I get cards? Regardless, if you win or lose a match, you will get currency. So this is very helpful to new players as they can easily spend the currency to get more cards and be able to make a better deck. While on the topic of currency real quick, I highly recommend battling players that are in your level range. This is because when you do win a match, you'll get extra currency on top of what you've already won. On top of this, the game also has codes. A huge amount of codes. I highly recommend using quite a few of these codes if you're a new player. However, I do think some codes can hinder your experience if you're a new player. If you're a new player entering this game, it can be very scary to get a bunch of cards and not know how to use them correctly. Some cards, for example, will be very specific and they might require something that you don't have. The moral of the story is that despite having all these cards, you might not need them or you might not exactly be able to use them in a specific deck build. You can definitely try, but they might not be efficient. Regardless of this, I would still use the codes because you can get some amazing rewards such as a ton of currency, maybe a sleeve, maybe a rare card, so on and so on. Alright, there's one thing I said earlier, using cards correctly. I highly recommend reading a bunch of cards. That's the only way you're gonna learn. The game has 4,400 different individual cards. I'm not saying to read every single card, but definitely learn up which ones are starters, which ones you're familiar with from your own playing, and which ones opponents commonly use. As you start to get more familiar with the different types of cards, you can easily think of how your opponent might be playing them and how you can counter. Due to the game having so many cards, your game might actually look like this when you start loading into the game. And it also might look like this. So if it wasn't obvious, you're going to be loading for just a little bit. You can skip the loading if you want to, but some of the UI might not pop up instantly, but it'll just give it like a few seconds, you know? We haven't even talked about the AI yet. There's two different types of AI. There are actual fighting matches, and then there's actual puzzles, which you can solve. If you ever played Legends of Runeterra, you might be familiar with puzzle solving with card games. This is basically the same concept in a way. This is very beneficial to new users as rewards are given when you do complete an AI or a puzzle, and you also get to learn different types of cards and their mechanics. Let's say you're a little bit bored of battling and you want to get some new cards that will work really fun together and you want to experiment? Well, if you don't have enough currency, you can trade other players. Trading is an option that unlocks a little bit later when you level up quite a bit, and it is an effective way to ask for a card and trade a different card to the player if they need anything. That's pretty much it for this game. There's a ton more that we didn't go over, but this is more of a basic introduction into the game and a first-hand look for new players, what they can expect, how to play, and a little bit of information here and there. If you do want even more information about a specific thing, I have tons of older videos. They might not be as helpful in current day, but they still have similar mechanics from back then to now. If you're diving into the game right now and you're worried about the other videos being way too outdated, don't worry, I'll have some updated versions of older videos going over some of the major mechanics and specifics in this game. Hopefully this introduction video was very helpful. It gave some light onto a game and gave some information to new players. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer them. If I can't answer them, I'll just let you know. This is due to how in-depth the game is. There is a lot in this game, so I highly recommend reading up and testing things out. Anyways, once again, I hope this video was very helpful. I hope you found a new and fun game to try out and enjoy, and that's gonna be it from me. I will see ya.